Chronicles of Spectro.
Ah yes, Def Jam Fight for New York, an all-time underrated PlayStation classic that is still celebrated by fans to this very day. Fight for New York is a fighting game produced by EA Games that is a sequel to EA's previous fighting game, Def Jam Vendetta. Unlike Vendetta, where it's mostly based around wrestling, Fight for New York implements martial arts, submissions, boxing, and many more fighting styles and features a plethora of famous hip-hop superstars like Snoop Dogg, Method Man, Flavor Flav, Ludacris, Busta Rhymes, and many more. This is also one of the few fighting games to have a ginormous roster containing 67 playable characters. 40 of them are real-life celebrities. I remember playing this game during my early days and I was obsessed, smashing bottles onto fighters' heads, car doors, and who could forget, throwing opponents into oncoming subway trains. You really had to be there. This game also has a unique health system that in order to KO your opponent, you have to either perform a strong attack, weapon attack, or blazing move that allows your character to summon their ultimate attack special. I wish I still had my copy. I wonder how much they sell for online. Wow, damn. Anyways, today I'm bringing you guys a Def Jam Fight for New York Iceberg. Grab your mics and broken beer bottles because we're going straight to the underground with the Def Jam Fight for New York Iceberg Explained. Layer 1. Def Jam Vendetta. Def Jam Vendetta was the first installment to the Def Jam fighting game franchise. The game allows you to play 4 different characters, Proof, Spider, Tank, and Briggs, as you attempt to become the best fighter in the ring, all while the main villain D-Mob, a ruthless crime lord who runs all the fighting venues you partake in, sees your character as a threat to his overall criminal empire. As mentioned in the intro, Def Jam Vendetta is more focused on wrestling rather than other fighting styles. In order to take down your opponent, you have to pin them down for 3 seconds. There are also less famous rappers in this game compared to Fight for New York. Although this game was produced under the EA Sports Big division, its sequel is simply produced by the main EA devs. In the end of Vendetta, you go up against D-Mob, and after defeating him, this leads into the events of Fight for New York. Interestingly enough, in the Japanese release of the game, Japanese rappers S-Word and Dabo are playable characters, but only exclusive to that country. Most of the fighting animations were later incorporated into Ultimate Muscle Legends vs. New Generation, as both games were developed by Aki Corporation. Def Jam Icon. If there was a fighting game that held the contender for the worst fighting game of all time, then Def Jam Icon takes the cake. Icon is the sequel to Fight for New York, but has no previous connection to the game whatsoever. The story is heavily focused on the hip-hop scene rather than the illegal street fights and mafia connections. You play as the playa, who ends up working with the loyal yet paranoid producer Curtis Carver, as you essentially help him strengthen and build his record label, all while facing rival producer Troy Dollar. Unlike the previous games, Def Jam Icon is more focused on traditional fighting game formats and incorporates an original system that allows you to manipulate the environment to attack an opponent using synthesizer-like abilities, which in my opinion is the most bizarre game mechanic in fighting game history since it throws out the entire realism out the window for this type of game. Like, they just somehow woke up with music no jitsu or something? I don't know. The reason for this drastic change was that the executive producer of Icon, Kuro Tsunoda, felt like hip-hop and wrestling didn't mix well. What a bizarre statement. Anyways, to no one's surprise, Icon was a commercial and critical failure with a 68% on Metacritic, which to be honest, that's too good for a rating as it deserves to be much lower. Like, the graphics look better than the previous, but are almost too uncanny sometimes. The fighting mechanics are slow and unresponsive at times, and everything just feels unfiltered and uninspired. Also, a quick side note, Method Man returns in this game, but plays a different character. And his character's name is Gooch. Is it supposed to be a play on word of Gucci? I don't freaking know. Why is he called Gooch? Well, whatever the case, this would potentially be the death of the Def Jam fighting game franchise, as in 2010, Def Jam Rap Star would be released but would have no affiliation with the Def Jam fighting games, as it would be more or less a karaoke-based singing game. Potential sequel. On August 1st, 2018, Def Jam Records would post this on their Twitter, which was an image that read, pick a city, which included titles such as Def Jam 5 for Atlanta, LA, Chicago, and Miami. This led to many fans speculating that Def Jam and possibly EA were potentially collaborating again in talks to create a new fighting game for Def Jam. However, it's literally been 5 years at the time of this video's release, and no word has been made about the potential sequel as of late. I've seen posts of people making their own fan posters and whatnot, and all I can say is that while hype around a new Def Jam fighting game is still alive, seeing the likes of Eminem or even Tekashi 69 feels a bit too overboard. Like, they do know that Def Jam is a record label, right? Like, most of its roster is based around artists that are under their label. But hell, if we do get a sequel now, we would have a killer roster. Stormzy, Ludacris, YG, Big Sean, Janaya Aiko, Dave East, Justin Bieber, YK Osiris, and DJ freaking Khaled would be one hell of a game. And for celebrity appearances, God, I would love to see the return of Christopher Judge as D-Mob, and for my personal pick, Vin Diesel. I don't know why, but as a kid, I always wanted him to appear as a celebrity guest in the future Def Jam game, but whatever, let's move on. The Takeover. The Takeover was the PSP port of Def Jam 5 for New York. Not really, to be exact. Let me explain. It's rather a prequel to Vendetta. The story has you play a player character introduced to the gang leader OG, who only appears in this game specifically and is not even a playable character in the Takeover, unlike D-Mob. You become OG's protege as he teaches you new fighting moves to take over the 5 boroughs of New York City. Unfortunately, OG is murdered by Crow, aka Snoop Dogg's character. You face off against Crow in the subway station, and after defeating him, your character leaves the criminal underworld and street fighting life altogether. Afterwards, D-Mob slowly makes his way to gain power and, of course, leads into the events of Vendetta and Fight for New York. Unlike the previous games, this game only allows you to fight in one-on-one matches, and ground combat is further enhanced than it is in the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox ports. The GameCube's limitations. The GameCube version of Def Jam Fight for New York consists of a ton of limited elements and features that contrast its PS2 and Xbox counterparts. When creating your player character, you are only able to choose one voice compared to the other imports, which you were able to choose from 6 different voices. At least 8 of the 28 music tracks are missing, and due to the GameCube's hardware lacking the light blur effect that permeates on the characters and arenas, certain 3 or 4 player arenas have reduced crowds due to the mini disc space limitations. Layer 2. Cut content. To many people's surprise, there were some rappers who were cut from Fight for New York. These rappers include DMX, LL Cool J, Kellis, S-Word, and Corrupt. This explains why LL Cool J's song Mama Said Knock You Out was included in the game despite the artist not even appearing in the game. DMX previously appeared in Vendetta but didn't return to Fight for New York despite concept art for the rapper being made for the game. DMX was also likely going to be a fighter who defended the scrapyard and worked under D-Mob's crew. Kellis had concept art made for her, and images relating to S-Word can be found in the alpha build of the game, and Corrupt's name can be found in said build. Fighting stages like Crow's Alley, Def Jam Interior, The Limit After Hours, Red Hook Tire After Hours, and Terminal Offload were all taken out. Some of the stages would later be incorporated in Def Jam The Takeover. In terms of the game's soundtrack, over 16 songs were removed from the game, and they go as follows: DMX Where the Hood At and Who We Be, Beanie Man featuring Sean Paul, Boss Man, Flame Laz Rock and Roll, Juice, Know the Ledge, Eric, Busta Rhymes Call the Ambulance, David Banner Crank It Up, Bubba Sparks Take a Load Off, Scarface The Topic, Biggie Hypnotize, Drama Left Right, Tupac Holler If You Hear Me, Capone featuring Orega, Troublesome, Eric B and Rakim, Know the Ledge, Scarface, Nokia and TOK, Murda, and Stingray Chop Shop. There were even lines and background music that were cut in the final game. Most of the cut lines come from Redman's character Doc, who leaves voice messages to you after certain events. Take a listen.
Hey yo, this is Doc. Pick up the phone if you're there. Yo, pick up the phone, goddammit. Hey yo, anyway, this is Doc, man. If you coming over later on, can you pick me up some Chinese food, please? Cause I'm so damn hungry I can eat a cow. I'm hungry. Peace. Hey, yo, man, what's up, dog? This is Doc. Hey, I heard you hooked up with some ugly-ass female the other night. Show some respect, dog. Come on, hit your boy back. Peace. Hey, you little snitch. Always knew I couldn't trust you. You a dead man when I see you. We gonna finish this shit tonight, little bitch. I'ma beat blood out your ass. I'ma cut your eyes out and put them on my knees and call you Niecy.
Crow was also going to have two costume variants, one sporting his pimp outfit that he wears in the cutscenes of the game. Flava Flav's name is misspelt. One half of Public Enemy, Flava Flav is one of hip-hop's most iconic hype men. He's a playable character that you can come across in the game once you enter the Terror Dome in the second half of the storyline. However, one major error that is in this game is that they misspelt the artist's name. The game misspells it as Flava Flav, when in reality it's spelled Flavor Flav. It's bizarre how the Def Jam fighting game wiki doesn't even mention the spelling error, since Flavor Flav has gone on record to call out people for misspelling his name, let alone even enunciating how you say his name. Maybe this is a continuation to an inside joke from his reality show Flavor of Love. Yeah, that was a thing back then, but just to immortalize it into a game is just a big oof to Flavor Flav. Like, imagine being a rapper and getting incorporated into a video game only for the devs to fuck up the spelling of said name. That couldn't be me. Lil Flip's movesets are unfinished. Lil Flip is a character that is a part of Crow's crew. His main fighting style is martial arts, however, when utilizing him in-game, he doesn't appear to implement that type of fighting style. Here's what a character with martial arts looks like compared to Lil Flip's fighting style. In Def Jam the Takeover, Lil Flip is instead using wrestling as his main fighting style. D-Mob and Suge Knight comparisons. There is no surprise that the character D-Mob is inspired by the real-life figure Marion Hugh Knight Jr., aka Suge Knight. Suge Knight is a former executive producer and former CEO and founder of Death Row Records. He was notorious in the rap scene, as he's known for his threats, notorious image, and gang affiliations that allowed him to be a kingpin within the rap community. There have been a ton of rumors against the producer, such as the weird story regarding a confrontation with Suge and rapper Vanilla Ice, where Suge Knight grabbed the artist by the ankles and dangled him from a balcony. And of course the infamous theories regarding the deaths of Tupac, Eazy-E, and Biggie Smalls that many believed were orchestrated by Suge Knight, which to this day, no one knows the identity of the suspects of either of the slain rappers. There's even a scene in Def Jam Vendetta that almost mirrors that of the iconic speech given by Suge Knight back in 1995 at the Source Awards.
And one other thing I'd like to say, any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Unlike Suge Knight though, D-Mob, depending on how you view the character, is less radical and more respectful than his real-life counterpart, as he tends to have a much bigger heart, even towards his rivals. As of 2023, Suge Knight is behind bars for the death and manslaughter of his friend Terry Carter and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. He will not be eligible for parole until 2034. Layer 3. Blaze's T-pose scene. During one of the scenes that takes place during the Babylon venue, if you end up breaking a relationship with your previous girl in favor of Carmen Electra, a cutscene will play out that will have you come face to face with the character Skull, who is side by side with your previous ex. This causes Skull to punch you in the face, activating your next fight. However, in this scene, just as you're about to get hit, Blaze can be seen T-posing in the back. Although his head and expressions do react when you get hit, it's a funny error in the game, and if this was a modern day game, this would have definitely been patched up by now. I mean, I would be doing the same if I saw my buddy getting hit. Masa speaks Japanese gibberish. Masa is a fighter that you can come across in the Dragon House. He first appeared in Def Jam Vendetta and is described as the son of a high-ranking Yakuza boss. However, he's included in this iceberg because of one bizarre quirk about his character, and it's the fact that he talks like this. So, for those who think I'm not understanding what he's saying because it's a different language, apparently I'm not alone on this one, as it's likely that Masa's speech from his intro to outro are all recorded in complete nonsense. The closest he is to ever enunciating a phrase in Japanese is his outro, but then again, it's hard to even muster what he's trying to say in the first place. In his outro, he states, "Don't mess with Japanese people." But for some people who speak in that tongue, he's not even saying it properly. Not to mention, his lines in Fight for New York are carried over from Vendetta, meaning they just recycled the same voice lines for the character, despite giving everyone else different lines. This gets even weirder since in Def Jam The Takeover, he could be seen speaking English during the pre-battle openings. Baxter and Snowman's store swap. In The Takeover, the character Baxter can be seen as the owner of the Syndicate Urban Streetwear. However, in Def Jam Fight for New York, Snowman is seen as the store owner instead. It's likely that since both games take place apart from Vendetta, there was probably an off-screen story that caused Baxter to sell the store to Snowman, but most of that is just fan speculation. Or maybe it's likely that they've screwed up during production of the game and have no clue who the owner was. Also, the acronym for that store is called SUS. Just pointing that out. The Blazing 10 theme. One of the Def Jam Fight for New York OST songs, Blazing 10, sounds an awful lot like a song that most people are quite familiar with. Take a listen. Yeah, this is a rendition of Get Low by Lil Jon and the Yin Yang Twins. From what I also learned about this song, it was also used for the official website for the game when you open up the website's homepage. Get Low would also be featured in Need for Speed Underground 2, another game developed by EA, and would also go on to be featured in a game that we should not name. Although, to backtrack on that comment, Lil Jon is featured in Icon as a playable fighter, but not in Fight for New York, despite the song being a heavy influence for the Blazing 10 theme. Maybe it was money that was the problem, which I don't know. We'll find out much later. Layer 4. The Lil Flip glitch in The Takeover. Lil Flip just can't catch a break, huh? In The Takeover, there's a glitch that involves Lil Flip when you end up taking over the Staten Island region. If you recruit Lil Flip into your group, since he's a part of a rival group, it won't change the outcome of the character anyways, since he appears as an opponent that you could face while choosing Lil Flip to defend your turf, meaning that two Lil Flips will end up facing against each other. Cindy J in Need for Speed Underground. Cindy Johnson, aka Cindy J, is one of the many girlfriends you can choose when entering Babylon. Johnson was a model working for EA, and before development for Fight for New York, she portrayed the character Samantha in Need for Speed Underground. She expressed interest in wanting to be featured in a fighting game for some time, and eventually got her chance to play as herself in Fight for New York. What's really weird though is that despite playing a character in Need for Speed, motion capture and voice acting and all, her Def Jam counterpart was voiced by Joyce Sevilla Stern, and when checking her IMDb, it's the only role that she's credited for, meaning that it's likely her first and last role in her entire career. The DMX Def Jam controversy. DMX was the late legendary rapper who, in my opinion, carried Def Jam Vendetta despite little appearance he had in the game. His music and image were so utilized in the game, but the problem was DMX felt like Def Jam weren't even paying him enough, despite heavily using his likeness and music in the game. And to be honest, I don't blame him. Not only was he incorporated in the game, but he voiced his character too, and that includes his music alone. Sadly, the closest we will ever get to having DMX in Def Jam would have to be making him in the custom character mode, but even then that would break the continuity of the game, and well, now I'm going off the deep end here. DMX will live on in his music and his fan base, and he will forever be an icon in the hip-hop industry. Def Jam Mobile. Def Jam Fight for New York Mobile was released for Java mobile devices that was released 3 years after the release of the console version of the game. So how can you turn this into a mobile game? Well, you get this, a pixelated 2D fighting game where you can control only 7 characters. The game features one-on-one matches in challenge mode and features one song from what I could gather, which is Get Back by Ludacris, which wasn't even in the original game but was featured in Def Jam Icon. I find it really bizarre how this game was released years after the release of Fight for New York, and for some reason this was given a thumbs up by the devs. What makes this game even more interesting is that I can only find one clip from this game and a few screenshots of it, meaning that there's literally barely any footage of it online. Again, there are some screenshots from the game, but that's just about it. It's a very bizarre piece of Def Jam history that I'm just learning about. I'm pretty sure that there's people who have no clue about this version of Def Jam Fight for New York, and who could blame them? The only way you could ever play this game is if you have a Java mobile device from 2007 which has the game already downloaded. I hope there's an emulation of this game, but as far as I could tell, I don't think so, but who knows. Somebody will probably work on it after this video gets released. A legal hellhole of a game. This game alone, including Vendetta and Icon combined, are some of the most expensive games to purchase now. There's a reason why none of these games have gotten HD remasters or re-releases digitally onto other new-gen consoles, and that's because due to the likenesses of real-world rappers and celebrities in the game's history, EA or Def Jam may not be able to re-release this game without the permission of the other celebs. Hell, most of the artists who were featured in the game aren't even affiliated with Def Jam anymore. The only one at the time of this video's recording is Ludacris, who appeared in all 3 Def Jam games. So in reality, it wasn't because of the failure of Icon that ruined the franchise, but rather the cautionary decision of incorporating their artists and having to pay them for their likeness, since they're pretty stingy given the DMX claims that were released online. We live in a digital age where we can now be able to play and purchase games online, and if EA wanted to do another Def Jam game and release it online, they would potentially risk facing legal issues in the future and would likely pull the game off their market, making it unplayable and rare. Like, remember when they decided to take off PT from the PlayStation Store? Look what has been happening as of late. People are literally selling their consoles with PT included for over $1,000. Def Jam Fight for New York can sell from $50 to over $1,000 on eBay if one copy is still factory sealed. I don't know how a record label or game company functions and could try to make a similar Def Jam fighting game, but as far as I could tell, they might never do it again. And it sucks because we beg for another game. Hell, we try our best to forget Icon and pray for a true sequel to Fight for New York. Who knows, I might be wrong one day and we'll eventually get another Def Jam fighting game. But until then, it's either keep on dreaming for another sequel or continue playing the game that will never get old as time marches on.
Is there anything you need, sir?
I'm not one who usually handles the dirty work.
I'm sorry.
I already have too much blood on my hand as it is. But
But what?
a rat is a rat, and you've been snooping on us for far too long.
Whoa, wait. I can explain.
Subjects, get him out of my sight.